The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned into the PA Power Podcast, College Edition, featuring Rob Waltko and Joe Youngblood. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome, wrestling fans, to the Open Room with Rob and Joe. This is your co-host, Joe Youngblood, and joined as always by
Rob Waltko.
Folks, this installment of the Open Room, we are going to preview Drexel and Edinboro. I'll be talking about Drexel. Rob will be talking about Edinboro, and we're going to finish up with an interview this week of another Division I head coach, Matt Azevedo from Drexel, and we'll talk to him about his upcoming season, where he sees his program going, and things like that. So I hope you enjoy what we have in store for you. Rob and I, like I said, we got Drexel and Edinboro. Drexel's a team that's coming off of a 35th place finish at NCAA's, no All-Americans, and on the season they were 12-4. And, went to criteria with Lehigh, close match with Ryder, so they're a team like on the cusp. And Rob, something I really like about what's going on in Philadelphia and Southeast PA, and we'll talk about it too, or at least I'll talk about it when we talk about Penn in our Open Room installment, when we get to them, is the kind of the, I don't want to say resurgence or maybe renaissance or the upward swing in Philadelphia right now with wrestling and that RTC. Rob, what are your thoughts on what you know? I know it's across the state from you, and you guys on the western side of the state kind of look down on us guys on the eastern part of the state, but what's your opinion on what's happening there right now?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, Drexel is 100% in a better place than they've ever been. I think, all of that credit really goes to the coaching staff. They've done a really good job kind of turning them from, I don't want to say an obsolete program, but they didn't have a whole ton of an identity. And then Penn, they've been down, but they've been pulling in some nice recruiting classes the last few years. They just actually got a commitment from Cam Connor from Kiski area, Western PA boy. He's heading there, and they have a couple other tough guys, younger kids wrestling there. So, yeah, I anticipate that both of those teams will be pushing for trophies at the EIWA tournament in the next few years.
You talk about his coaching staff, Matt Azevedo, takes this job over, and now it's really his team. He's had a few years in, and he's starting to recruit, and you're seeing it. He's that recruiting classes have gotten better and better. This past year maybe his best one yet. Zach Schaefer, All-American from Pitt, Josh Jeva, local Southeast PA guy, went out to Iowa, had a pretty good career. Maybe not what he thought it was going to be. Had some success on the freestyle circuit, and is just is in that regional training center and being a coach in freestyle and things like that. These guys are really making inroads within the state, and people are taking notice. And I think you're going to see this. Like I said, this team is on the upswing. So, getting back to it, we're going to talk, about this lineup. They have some pretty talented freshmen coming in. I got connections everywhere. I was talking to them, one of my connections within Drexel, and someone I think is pretty credible and gave me some insight. Said there could be some true freshmen starting this year, and we'll have to see. Rob and I we talked at length off the air about Ty Smith from Nevada coming in, and there's not a true starter. 25 and 33, it's kind of up in the air. You have redshirt freshman Daniel Grobman coming back, but some might think he's a starter. If I had to venture a guess, I think Ty Smith is the starter here at 125. But there are some rumors flying around in this part of the state that Dante Menino will be potentially starting, and Smith going to 133. That would give their lineup at the bottom half the not necessarily a 1-2 punch, because you'd be starting two true freshmen, but two guys that go out and earn their stripes and guys that with talent, but how they make that change from high school to freshman college, and is yet to be told. Personally, I don't think Ty Smith is a true 33-pounder by size, but again, I've been wrong before, could be wrong again. The incumbent at 133 is Chandler Olson. Didn't have the best of season last year, coming off a season in which he went 7-10. That's why I think there's a possibility they could go freshman there and get these young guys some experience on the mat. 141, it looks like Julian Flores is going to be starter. He's coming off a season in which he went 13-15. He was 0-2 at the EIWAs. He's not a guy that he's like up and down. You look at his results, and he wrestles some real tough matches against some good kids, and then he has like a bad match against a kid that maybe he should be beating. And you think about wrestling some of the likes like Tyson Dippery, losing a 3-2 match to him, and he's an overtime pin to Brett Culp from Franklin Marshall. He's wrestling some guys that he's staying in matches with. Didn't turn that corner last year in a lot of them, and the record ended up like I said as a 13-15. So at 149, the incumbent coming off a true freshman year, he went 16-12. Trevor Alphavin, sorry about that, Trevor. Didn't mean to just butcher your name like that. It kind of turned some heads last year, and the preseason is ranked right now at 25th. But he's a guy that's spent time in that room in the off season, working hard, and he's got a good motor and a tremendous work ethic from what I've observed and from what everyone that I know in the area in the know has told me. So he's a guy that's going to look to improve upon that 16-12 record. I think will be a guy that at the end of the year is definitely qualifying for his first NCAA tournament. So, just a quick preview of those first 4 weight classes. Rob, what are your thoughts on that? I know we talked and maybe didn't have differences, but you had different opinion on things to a point.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I would expect that Smith is in the lineup for them. He's a kid that I think they're pretty high on. I would expect him at 25, but who knows if they're going to throw 2 true freshmen out there. I mean, I'm sure Olson's going to want to hold his spot, so he's not going to roll over. But Elflin, or however you pronounce it, sorry, Trevor, if we butcher it, he's a guy that, he had a really nice true freshman year. He beat Tristan Moran from Oklahoma State. And this is a guy that I don't think he ever placed at the Pennsylvania tournament, did he?
I'm not 100% positive, but I think you're right. And he, again, to echo that, he's a guy that wasn't a very sought-after recruit. No, and he's, and a testament to the work he's been putting in. Right. 16-12, and he has a win over Skyler, a win over Jamal Morris from North Carolina State. Tristan Moran, like I mentioned, he beat some pretty tough guys. So I think that they've certainly found a diamond in the rough there, and I think he's a guy that he could help lead this charge of these young guys, and they're pretty high on him. Yeah, so our first 4 weight classes through 149. Just being upfront, this Drexel team is not going to knock your socks off this year. I don't think they're going to be solid. They got some good guys, some tough guys, but the reality of it is they're growing. And they're doing it the right way. It took a few years, and now they're starting they're going to start seeing the next year or two definitely this youth movement in these guys, and they're going to really see the benefits of these guys being at an RTC there in Pencil at UPenn with the guys they have there that are training. We go to 157. Felix Vega, Cumberland Valley kid, is going to be looks to be the starter there for his redshirt sophomore year. As a freshman, Belga. Went 16-10. He was 17-5 last year as a redshirt freshman season, and he's logged a lot of matches, and he doesn't have any real, I would say, marquee wins for him, but won significant matches, and is going to look to hit the ground running this season at 157 for the Dragons. At 165. Abed Jarrell it looks to be the starter. He's a junior this season for the Dragons. Comes in with a 44-32 career record, won 23 matches last year, and he went 3-2 at the EIWAs. Did not place. But, this guy that probably definitely has, or I'm sure the staff and the fans have aspirations for him to be a NCAA qualifier this year. And, he has, in his 13 losses, he's wrestled some tough guys. But the bad part is, in my opinion, you look at the stats. And, in those matches with the higher level guys, he gives up a lot of points. Your Chad Walsh, Gordon Wolf, Tech Faldum, Chance Marsteller, losing and giving him a lot of points. He just has the issue with keeping points off the board. And so, it's something he'll have to look to shore up to, make that level change as a junior here and get to that, qualify for NCAAs. He won 3 matches at EIWAs, just wasn't enough down the stretch. Moving to 174, this is where it gets a little iffy as far as who's going to start. There's some rumors about guys they really like that are true freshmen that possibly can be starting. I'm not sure I'm ready to anoint Michael O'Malley a starter. It looks like Brian McLaughlin will be the starter at 174. Again, this is just the inkling that I have. No inside information on this one. He's coming off a year in which he went 9-4, and we'll kind of see it coming off that redshirt year how he does. But like I said, all things point to him being the starter for the season. 84. It looks like it's going. This were one of the freshmen I believe will be starting. That's Anthony Walters getting the start for the Dragons at 184. A guy with a good pedigree and good prep career that could come in and be a contributor right away. Do I believe? But I believe that he, at the same time, coming in as a freshman starter, probably take some licks there at 184 pounds. So, Rob, between 57 and 84, what do you have for the starters for the Dragons?
Yeah, I like that Gerald kid. I think you're right. He certainly gives up a lot of points, but he's fun to watch. He wrestles with a really fast pace. If matches were 10 or 11 minutes long, I think a lot of those, 10 or 10 to 8 losses, he'd end up winning by 4 or 5 points. He's a stud. In terms of the rest of the lineup, I think that definitely you'll see Walters push for 84, though I'm sure Brooks and Josh Murphy, they'll try to hold on to that spot as seniors and juniors. I'm interested to see Mike O'Malley, whether or not he gets in the lineup, just how he performs. He's, coming into senior year, he might have been the best recruit out of that big class they had, at least on paper. So I'm curious to see how he progresses. I think he has high upside, and he could be a real contributor, a real stud for them.
Yeah, you said about O'Malley, he was ranked 13 nationally at 170 pounds, and he was the 57th ranked overall recruit in the class of 2018. Walters was the 48th ranked recruit, ranked 5th nationally at 195. I just don't think he breaks the lineup at 197. That's why I think he'll be at 84. And but again, I could be wrong. Just part of this recruiting class. You have the two Menino brothers from Gateway, New Jersey. Not to get sidetracked, but Antonio was ranked 15th at 120 pounds, and he was the 44th overall recruit, and he was a state champion in New Jersey, the Flow Nationals champion. Brother Dante was 2-time medalist and sophomore All-American. Ty Smith ranked 7th nationally, 113 pounds. He was a 4-time Nevada State champion, won 221 matches in his career. He was 61-2 as a senior. Didn't lose to a kid in state his senior year. We talked about O'Malley. So this was like this class not only had – it was 6 and maybe like good, pretty decent number far as recruits, but the kids they got. They got quality kids that are going to come in and be, contributors to this lineup sooner rather than later. I would think probably 5 out of 6 of them will be starting in that lineup next year. And, definitely that. I think that's probably what they're looking at as well. And maybe with upwards of 3 starting this year in that lineup. So we talk about 197 and 285 here in their lineup, and a guy that has been in NCAA's, Stephen, and I'm going to say it's wrong, so I'm going to let Rob say it.
Loizo.
I always say it wrong. I'll get it right. So Stephen Loizo was 32-11 last year. He went 1-2 at NCAA's. Really, really, it's rare you see him take a bad loss, as in like getting beat by a significant amount of points. He did get majored by Chris Weiler from Lehigh last year, who we talked about, but he also owns a win over him as well. So you can see there's a little bit up and down. One of the things that he's able to do is keep matches close, but he doesn't always. Keeping them close is one thing, but keeping them close and winning is another. And that's one of those things that if he wants to have any opportunity to get on the podium, top 8 this year as a senior, he's going to need to turn that corner and turn those close losses into close wins. Doesn't have to be everyone, but he's got to do a better job of it for sure. And heavyweight, you go to heavyweight and you have the incumbent, Joey Goodhart. He's a redshirt senior. He's got 77 career wins. Last year, missed some time and only wrestled 14 matches. But the 2017 season, he was NCAA qualifier, and 2016 season, he was an NCAA qualifier. He went 1-2 in 2016, 0-2 in 17, and he's another guy that has the ability to keep matches close. But again, we talk about the ability to win those close matches. That's the difference for these two at the top of their lineup, is being able to get those close losses and create and turn them into close wins. And it's always easier said than done. But again, I'm gonna say like this. These guys having the amount of time they've had in that wrestling room at Drexel, and I have to assume that they're making appearances with the at the RTC down there. They're gonna have those opportunities to find those ways and become better to turn those close losses into close wins. But that is yet to be seen, and I'm looking forward to it because again, I'm really want to see Drexel be better. I want to see, all Pennsylvania teams to be better. I'll be honest, but Drexel, Drexel and Penn, the team, from in the city there, times both of them have very high academic standards, and it's not always easy getting kids in. But they do find a way. You see here this year, this recruiting class, and we'll talk about Penn's recruiting class, and for some of these top level wrestlers, they're also top level students, and it's meshing the two of those together. And I think they have the right coaches in place that are able to get these kids and make them want to come to these schools now, and that's the exciting thing, to see them recruit these kids and develop them, and hopefully you see these programs flourish. And again we're the two consummate homers here from being PA guys and being about Pennsylvania wrestling, but it's so cool to see all these Pennsylvania teams be competitive, and there's definitely enough talent within the state. Granted, a lot of it's going into several places, the same place, a lot of times, or so it seems. But to have, you look at it, like Drexel finished 35th. So, you think about it, this is our 5th team. That means Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania alone had 5 teams in the top 35, and Edinboro finished 36. So if you go on, that means they have 6 in 36 schools were Pennsylvania. So, it's just awesome to see, and I really think Drexel's only going to get better. I think they'll improve upon last year's performance. Dual meet wise, I think they'll be somewhere in that 20 to 25 range as a dual meet team. when it comes to their finish at NCAAs. This one's hard to gauge because I don't know about the, if I'm going to make a prediction on qualifiers, I'm going to say Elvin is going to qualify at 49. Jarrell qualifies at 65. Loizu is at 197, and Goodhart at 285. I think are for me locks to qualify. So you go back over that, and that's 4 guys, and Loizu and Goodhart are guys that have been there before, probably going to win some matches. The other ones, I don't know. Maybe they sneak a 5th one in. Who knows? Maybe you got a guy that gets hot at the right time. They get a 6th one in. Again, we can never predict what who or what's going to happen. So I'm going to just. I'm going to say that they're going to improve upon that 35th place finish. They're going to be somewhere in probably in the 27 to 31 range as far as teams go. I'm going to say just feel that with the upswing and that they'll have that opportunity because they'll have more guys there to get that to improve upon that score. I mean, they scored 8 points last year at the NCAA tournament. You got a guy that gets into that blood round. He's almost going to potentially reach that just on his own. So they have an opportunity with 2 guys that have potential to be All-Americans. I'm going to say that they don't have an All-American this year, so they're going to have 0 All-Americans, but they'll be somewhere in that 12. I'm sorry, not 12, 20, I think it's 28 to 30, 31 or 27 to 31 range. I don't think that's out of the question. Pitt was 31 last year with no All-Americans. West Virginia was 30th with 1 All-American. And they did it with basically 2 guys winning matches between Jake Smith and Zeke Moisey. I had lost my train of thought there. But so, that's where I think they end up landing. Looking forward to the following year is when they're going to have is what I'm really excited to see. This is you see some of these freshmen get in the lineup and see how they do, but it's the following year that I think you're going when you see 5, maybe 6 of them in the lineup. I'm going to say 5. I don't think there's a potential for 6 of these guys to make all 6 freshmen in this class to make the lineup because the Menino brothers are the same weight. Listed right now at the same weight, and Ty Smith as well. So 3 of their recruits are all listed at 125. Someone's got to go up, and I don't think any of them are big enough out of the gate within a year to go to 41. So there's that there. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. So that's my prediction for the Dragons. Top 25 dual meet team, and best case scenario top 27th at NCAAs, but more in that 27 to 32, 31 range, and no All-Americans, and I say 4 definite NCAA qualifiers. So I don't know what you have, Rob, what you feel they have the opportunity to do.
I'm seeing 4 or 5 guys get to the tournament for them. I don't think they're a top 25 dual team quite. I think they have a few holes that are going to hold them back, and they don't have those guaranteed wins, right? They don't have 2-3 guys that are going to beat just about everyone to get those guaranteed dual wins. I think Goodhart gets on the lineup or gets on the podium. Just a gut feeling. I feel like every team we talk about from PA, we say their heavyweight's going to get on the lineup. So at some point we're going to be wrong, but they redshirted him for a reason. Last year was probably their best team, and they sat him out. I think seeing how heavyweight would clear out this year because they feel pretty good about his chances.
Yeah, we've talked about that, how wide open heavyweight's going to be.
Yeah, so I think 5 or 6 of the top 8 guys were seniors. They saw that. They're like, we're going to sit this guy. It's not best for the team. It probably cost them some points or a dual meet or 2, but they did because it's best for him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I like Loizu. He's very good on top. A little bit squirrely on his feet, which is I think admittedly would be his weak part. But he's a guy that he gets the right matchups. He can maybe do some damage. But I think Goodhart gets on the podium for them. So you want to transition over to the Edinboro Fighting Scots?
Yeah, Edinboro, Rob's
homework assignment.
Yeah, homework assignment for this one, and Rob, I'll defer to you. I'll add my my 2 cents when called upon. But this wasn't. Neither of these were really an easy task because of the a lot of unknowns in these lineups. And, with the freshmen coming in for Drexel, that is, the unknowns in the lineup. And Rob had a whole Rob had even more, I think, problems game planning for the preview of Edinboro. And he's going to talk, and, I'll add in a little bit more about some of the problems they face moving forward. Yeah,
so Edinboro, it's going to be a very interesting season for them. They don't bring back a whole lot of firepower. I don't think that's anyone's fault in particular. You look at who they lost. They lost All-American Sean Russell. They lost him to Minnesota. Corbin Myers and Billy Miller transfer to Virginia Tech. They're top 15 guys. The Lugo brothers transfer out. Pat Lugo is probably a top 8 guy this year. Austin Chalmers, top 15 guy. And then, my guy Dakota Gear, he transferred down to Oklahoma State as well. So that's 6 guys that are top 15, being very conservative, that are out of the lineup. They're gone. So Matt Hill certainly has his work cut out for him, at least this year. The good news is that they have a lot of scholarship money, so they're going to be able to spend that and hopefully get some studs back in there. But, looking over their lineup, there's not a whole lot coming back here that I think you can get excited about. If I'm being honest, and this isn't me discounting these guys, it's just purely looking at it from an objective standpoint of what their record was, where they're at in their career. As of right now, at 125, they have no one listed on their roster. Russell Stat has a guy named Eric Schenkels listed. He did not have a very good record, but he's not even on their roster. 133. They have 2 guys, neither of them from Pennsylvania. A guy named Tony Recco, 7-27 career record. Richie Gomez, 4-8 career record. I don't know how much you can expect from those guys. Again, that's Corbin Myers. They had him slotted for another 2 years. You don't really recruit that weight. If you're Edinboro, you got your guy in there. Nate Hagan at 41. He's 37-48 career. He was their starter last year, so at least they bring some familiarity back to the lineup. And then 149, they have Chris Matzke. He's from Germany. He's 1-10 last year. And then Matt Daller. He was 3-10 last year. So that's their lightweights. Joe, I don't know if you want to say much about that or if you have any insight on these guys, because I'll be honest, I watch a lot of wrestling, and these are guys that I was not familiar with.
Losing Coach Flynn, it being completely honest, kind of no fault of his, kind of gutted this program. You talk about the top 15 guys that vacated after Coach Flynn left. They didn't even wait to see. A lot of them didn't wait to see who they named the next head coach. And I like Matt Hill. I think he brings a lot to the table. He's an Edinboro grad. He knows what it takes. He grounded out in that room with those facilities. And again, when we talk about facilities, Edinboro's on par with like a Lock Haven, where they really struggle to get blue chippers coming because they don't have the facilities that other schools have. So with that said, what Coach Flynn was able to do there was phenomenal, and he just decided it was time to go. He had a lot of talent coming back. Unfortunately, that talent left. Like I said, Matt Hill, I think he's probably not what a lot were thinking. But his track record kind of speaks for itself. I mean, you read up, if you take the time to look at where his stops were coaching and who he's worked with and who he's helped to develop and mentor, he's got a really nice resume. So I think Matt Hill is going to he's gonna have growing pains like you can't fathom. Just because the talent that's left on the team, a lot of guys are going to be thrust into starting that weren't expecting to start. And, to unfortunately, to echo what Rob said, you look at what's on their roster and it kind of makes you cringe a little bit because, you're not too many years removed from Edinboro being a top 5 team and having some hammers in their lineup. And for excited as we've been about previewing these teams, this is one we're not, super excited about because there's not a lot to get excited for, unfortunately. And I'm really, huge Matt Hill fan now because I'm hoping he turns it around and keeps Edinboro on the map. Like I said, there's going to be a dip. There's definitely going to be a dip. So you Edinboro fans out there, anyone that's been following him, be patient. You gotta give him time to get recruits back in and do his thing and develop the team the way he wants to, make it his team. Coach Flynn did his thing for the time that he's done it. He's gone, his staff's gone, and it's Matt Hill's show.
A few things before we jump into the rest of their lineup. I think there's a couple things of note. Number one, these guys that we're talking about, they're not highly recruited scholarship athletes, right? So, these are guys that walk on, that they want to be a part of a team, stay in shape, be a part of a really good team, which Edinboro was for years. So this isn't us like downplaying them. It's just, there's a certain skill level to be effective at the Division I level. Number two, Matt Hill, I think one thing that shows it's kind of positive for him is, they just hired Mike DePalma as an assistant. That's a guy he obviously worked very close with at Kent State, was an All-American. So I think that shows that guys that Hill works with, they respect him and they do well. Between him and Ian Miller, he coached up some pretty good middleweights at Kent State. And number three,
Dustin Kilgore, he was on the team when Matt was there.
Right, Cannell. I mean, they've had good guys. Then number three, and this, I have all the respect in the world for Coach Flynn. He did an amazing job, but something's weird to me that none of these guys transferred to West Virginia. They all left and went elsewhere. I don't know if maybe they were restricted from transferring there, but I mean, had you given that any thought? Is that a little bit strange to you?
I did, and one thing that always comes up about Flynn is about how loyal the guys are to him. I thought about that, and the only thing I could think of is if that was kind of like maybe Edinboro's, parting shot, maybe where they gave everyone free rein to leave, but not to go to West Virginia.
Right. That's
my only thought.
Anyone has the answer to that, I'd love to know, because I did find that is very strange.
Yeah, please tweet to us. You could direct message it or whatnot to give us a heads up, and if you want to remain anonymous, if you're in the know, maybe just maybe it was time for him to go. Maybe he was losing the team. I don't know. I'm a Tim Flynn fan, even more so now that he's at my alma mater. Been in contact with the coaches there, and I just. I don't know. I just think that, I like what he's about. I like what he was able to accomplish. And I think, not to get off tangent because, he's not at a Pennsylvania school anymore. I think with resources that he didn't have at his prior stop at Edinboro, it's no disrespect to Edinboro. You're comparing a Power 5 school to a non-Power 5 school. Edinboro's only Division I sport is wrestling. And he's just going to have resources at his disposal that he's never had before, and see if he's able to use that. Maybe Coach Flynn might be a guy who's just better suited for a small school. We're going to find out real quick.
Mark Cody.
Yeah, there's an example. He did great things in American. He goes to Oklahoma, and it didn't go so well. So now he's at
but like you said, the resources. It's like being at Kennywood, which is Edinboro, then Disney World, which is West Virginia. So, would love to see WVU back on the map.
And Mark Cody, now the head coach at Presbyterian, I believe, Presbyterian College.
Correct. Yep. So back to Edinboro. Another guy that isn't on their roster anymore is Peter Pappas. He was their 49 last year. Tough New York kid. I don't know where he's at or if he left, but he's not on their roster. But 157. Another weight where they have no one listed on their roster right now. So if those two guys I mentioned at 49 that have a combined 4-20 record, maybe one of them bumps up. I'm not sure. Fritz Hohen at 165. He's pretty tough. 56-31 career record. Probably one of their better guys. You have Jacob Oliver, 2-time state champ. between 65, 74. I don't know if maybe Hohen goes 65, Oliver 70 or 60, Hohen 57, excuse me, Oliver 65. But, Oliver's a guy that could give them a spark. He was a really good high school wrestler. Zach Ankiewicz, he was their 184-pound starter last year while Dakota Gear redshirted. 12 and 17 as a true freshman, was a state runner-up in high school. He's listed as a 74, so maybe he's better suited at 174, and he'll be a little bit stronger there. And then you have Cody Mulligan coming in. Pennsylvania, I think multiple-time state champ, Super 32 champ, Flow National runner-up. He's a blue chip, and I'll be interested to see if they use him or if they kind of restrain themselves and say, you know what, we're rebuilding, kind of like what Coach Gavin said about Bonacorsi, and they want to do what's best for the kid, let him develop, get him in the room for a year before putting him out there. Joe, your thoughts? Like
you said, it's hard to project who and what are going where. I do agree with Mulligan not being in the lineup this year. It doesn't behoove them to do it. I don't know what Matt Hill has planned, but I don't think that you'll see Mulligan hit the mats this year. Not a Hill redshirt, because not in a bad way. What's the point? If you're building a year for him to get used to college wrestling, grow into the weight class, and just prepare. For the future. This whole rebuild is going to take time, and that way it gives Mulligan a chance to be part of it or see the fruits of it later in his career. As far as the rest of the lineup goes, it's just so hard to project. Like you said, just what they have come back at 49. Fritz Hohn seems to be a sure thing in that lineup. At what weight, we're still not sure. It looks to be potentially 65. But, Rob, aside from Mulligan, who else is going to be in on this recruiting class? I've looked, and it's not finding a whole lot as far as what they're bringing in.
Gage Willis, he's a heavyweight. He's an Ohio State champ. I know Flynn was pretty high on him in articles I read doing research on these guys. So, kind of same deal. I think he probably, they got John Spalding. He was third in the state as a senior. He was 10 and 12 as a true freshman. I think you probably roll him out. Who knows? This kind of reminds me to when Ferraro took over Clarion and they got Zackrell, who was, from a recruiting standpoint, well above what Clarion was at the time. And Clarion's gotten a lot better. And Ferraro had the discipline to redshirt him. And he's like, listen, we're going to not be very tough this year. Why run this kid out here? Let's just redshirt him, give him an extra year to get ready. And I think that's what they'll do with Mulligan, unless he is ready, unless they're like, this guy can go out there and compete and, compete to be an All-American. I don't see the point unless you think he can do that. So 97, they got Dylan Reynolds, another Sagertown kid. This guy was a Powerade champ, an Ironman champ, huge recruit, but 24 and 29 career record. So maybe a little change of scenery for him from a coaching perspective will help him kind of right the ship, because that's a guy that, he could maybe have a good year for them. And that heavyweight I kind of touched on, it'll probably be Spalding, who's a sophomore, or that Gage Willis, the kid coming in from Ohio. So, looking at this lineup, I think they would be fortunate to have three guys qualify for the national tournament. Looking at it, I don't know if I see anyone that's a surefire qualifier. They're really going to struggle, but I think the benefit for them is that they have a lot of tradition. They're not that far removed from having a team trophy. They should have some recruiting money. So, hopefully Hill can land some guys pretty quick to help the resurgence, because like we both said, it'd be sad to see Edinboro just completely tank, but I think Hill has a lot of pride in what he's doing. He's a Western PA guy. He has a lot of roots here, so I think he's going to start bringing in some good recruits sooner than later.
There's not a prediction I'm to make. They're gonna, I'm not going to put a number to anything. There's gaping holes in their lineup, and it's going to be about getting guys experience. And you mentioned change of scenery for some guys that maybe they'll flourish under new coaching staff. between Hill and De Palma and whoever else they're able to bring in the meantime. I think De Palma is a great hire. He's just spent some 2 years in the Ohio RTC and learned from guys that world team members, world team medalists, and on the freestyle circuit. So I think that's going to behoove him as a coach. He probably had an opportunity not just to learn a lot as a wrestler, but learn a lot as to how to coach guys up. And again, he was an All-American for Kent State. That's the connection between him and Hill. We talked. He was a Jeanette kid, and I want to say he went to Edinboro his freshman year, De Palma, and then transferred out.
He did, and I think he was kind of caught between
and Port or
he was caught between like Habit and some of those other guys. He just maybe wasn't at the lineup.
Left there, went to Kent State, and was an All-American, and was close another time as well. Was that and benefit of a great training partner, Ian Miller, that you talked about before. No,
and then De Palma, he's a guy, he's from Westmoreland County, so he's got to have some good connections too. I suspect that they land a good class or two in the next few years to kind of rebuild this. I don't think they're going to just become stagnant and fall off the face of the earth. I think, like you said, I think the term you used was growing pains, and there's going to be a lot of that. But they're going to get this thing moving in the right direction, at least be able to put a better product on the mat than I think that we're going to see this year.
I'll set the over-under on NCAA qualifiers at 1. And, I just don't see a guy that I can say like, oh yeah, lock. He's a lock. He's going to make it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough sledding, but, best of luck to Coach Hill and De Palma and the Edinboro Fighting Scots. I'd love to see them prove us wrong and have a great year.
Yeah, likewise. Rob, some other news, college news / kind of high school-ish. Just hit the airwaves. Colton Camacho from Franklin Regional was offered by last podcast guest, Keith Gavin, University of Pittsburgh, and the Oklahoma Sooners, I believe, were the two schools that just recently offered him. State runner-up, Colton Camacho.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm wondering what his projected college weight is, because Pitts seems to be pretty fit to be tied, 41-49. I would think if Matthews goes up to 49, maybe Kemmer's at 57. Sooners, they got a lot of young talent too. That class that Woodley was in, going to look to build here soon, and they're definitely on the way up with Rosselli.
Yeah, it was a big hire for them, and it just doesn't feel right with them not where they not in the conversation for a lot of things as far as Big 12 titles and NCAA All-Americans and so on. They had a nice run there in the early 2000s, Tion Ware and whatnot, where he won a few titles, and they were in the conversation top 5 team in competitive Oklahoma State in that Bedlam series. But it's been very lopsided as of late.
So, hey, I think we got everything out there. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners? It's pretty late, guys. We have to get these in past my bedtime because we're both busy. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. Yeah.
And, of course, Jeff has hard deadlines on us, and he's real difficult to work for. I can't say that enough.
Yeah, it's weird. He pulls up to my house in his police cruiser, and he's flashing the lights off and on. It's some Pittsburgh City intimidation tactics. So don't want to tick off the boss, that's for sure.
Yeah, he'll do donuts in your front yard.
He's a pretty rough customer.
As always, if there's any information we talked about that feel free to send us some direct messages on Twitter. You can send them to on the Facebook page or on Twitter to PA Power Wrestling or to Rob or I. Twitter, my handle is Coach YB, and that is YB with 2 E's on the end. Rob, your Twitter handle?
At Rob_Swaggin'U. For all you Steeler fans out there, that is a play on what Ike Taylor's Twitter handle is. I don't think I have that much swag. It's kind of a joke between me and some of my friends.
I just wanted you to say your Twitter handle, to be honest. That's why I did it.
Yeah. Well, hey, guys, I can give you Joe's home address if instead of DMs you want to send him handwritten or cutting out the letters from a magazine with tips on who's going what weight, what guys are transferring. If you want to be anonymous. So next episode, if I get $100 in my Venmo, I'll give his home address out.
That'll, if you get $100 in your Venmo address, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That's, you have to pay the postage to reach it to me in Southeast PA. So, we got nothing else for you folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy the interview with Matt Azevedo this week as well. And, we're gonna pick that up here in a moment, and we're gonna have some questions for him about where he sees his program going. And we talked about it already, and then you're gonna get to hear it from him after, based upon what our impressions, our expectations, and projections, and see what he has to say as a result about his team and where the program is right now, where it was when he took over and where it is now are two different places, and maybe some of his projections for the future. So Rob's got some questions for him too as well. And we're really looking forward to having him on in a little bit, and letting you guys hear what he has to say, and enjoy the interview. This week's guest coach is the head wrestling coach at Drexel University, Matt Azevedo. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Matt, you're entering. You're at a point with your program where it's definitely your program. You've had guys cycle through it, you've recruited and seen them graduate. Take us through where your program was when you took over and where it is now.
Yeah. Well, I think when I took over in 2011, there was definitely some good talent on the team. We had a few guys that were maybe in and out of the national rankings, and just kind of maybe not quite, just kind of missing the NCAA championships, or not getting the results at the tournament that they wanted. And, my goal when I first came in was just to raise the expectation level and raise the profile of the program. I knew that it was going to be a long road. And I knew that, we had our work cut out for us if we wanted to, reach our goals and get the program to a place, that we were looking to do, which would be, a nationally competitive program. So, the first thing was raise the expectations. Number two was, get the word out about Drexel wrestling. People, I don't think Drexel wrestling was a well-known name, let alone a household name. In fact, when I went to the Pennsylvania State Championships my first year with Zach Schaefer and I were at the Red Robin. As we're walking out, a guy goes, "Drexel, is that AA or AAA?" So, we had some work to do there. I wanted to build the brand within the wrestling community. And I think we did that pretty successfully, in my first few years. But our goal is just to raise all levels of the program, raise the level of the facilities, raise the level of recruiting, raise the level of results. So, and there were little pieces throughout the years that have gotten us now to being, a nationally ranked program over the last two seasons, and where we have guys in the individual national rankings on a yearly basis, and guys seeded at the national championships. So we've come a long ways, and it's exciting and it's motivating. It pushes us, to do more every year.
So a follow-up question: that when this job came open in 2011, what did it just jump when it went open? Did it call you? Was it something that you saw potential there, or did you just want your own program? What was the lure to go to Philadelphia, where at that time wrestling was not was kind of out of the limelight a little bit. It had some success. It was notoriety. There was notoriety in Philadelphia. When Penn had some success, and then it kind of went away. And so, what drew you to Philadelphia?
Well, I mean, the answer is yes and no. Did it jump out to me? I was not very familiar with Philadelphia or Drexel University. I was aware of Drexel University. I had heard it before. I'd heard of it. But, if you'd asked me where it was, I probably wouldn't have known where it was, just being a West Coast guy and not as familiar with the East Coast. But I was at Cornell. I was an assistant coach at Cornell at the time, and I had taken the job at Cornell from Cal Poly because I did want to be a head coach. I did want my own program. And so I wanted to make a move and be a part of a program that was competing for national titles. And Cornell was, we finished second the 2 years that I was there. So we were competing for national titles, had guys, doing some big things on the big stage. So I was hoping that would springboard me to a head coaching position. And, jobs opened while I was there. And, Rob Cole was a great mentor to me and the other assistants that were there at the time. But Rob's the one that really pushed me to the job. He's like, hey, Drexel just opened. He's like, it's in Philadelphia. I know that you like the city. I'm from Las Vegas originally. And he goes, I think you would really like it there. He's like, it's a sleeping giant. He's like, they're fully funded. They have this, unique program where the kids work at the school, and he goes, you could really do well there. So he got me interested in it. Then I started looking into it and really researching the university and the program, and I was like, then I got excited, and I went after it. So that was kind of how it went. And as soon as I, realized I wanted to get the job, I really was excited about it, and I didn't get it at first. It was actually offered to Brad Dillon at first, and then he decided to stay at Lehigh, and then they did another round of interviews, and I got the job. So I feel lucky, and we've been able to do a lot with the program over the last 7 years. So.
All right, so I would be not doing myself justice if I didn't ask this question. It's kind of a little not wrestling related. Being that you've been in Philly for as long as you have, what's your number one cheesesteak? What's your go-to place?
So I probably like Jim's the best. If
Jim's on South Street?
I was choosing, yeah. Now I haven't. There's a couple other places that people have recommended that I haven't been to yet. But I like Jim's. They chop the meat a little more finely, so it's pretty tasty. But I'll tell you what, it's pretty hard to go wrong in Philly. Most cheesesteaks are pretty good. But I definitely converted to the Whiz. When I first got there, I was like, no way I'm eating Cheese Whiz. That seemed crazy. But somebody, convinced me to do it, and ever since I had it, I've never changed. So I definitely go with the Whiz over the provolone.
Yeah, I just had to ask if there are a lot of people that come in from outside the area, and you being a guy from the out west, a lot of times people don't get the mystique of the Philly cheesesteak. So you're fully integrated with it, which is nice to hear. So
yeah. I like my food, so.
Coach.
Yes.
Coach, Rob here. So, you said you've been there 7 years. I think definitely raised the level of prominence with the program. Definitely on the national stage, in and out of dual meet rankings. I'm curious, when you started, I'm sure you put a roadmap together of, goals you want to accomplish. What have you guys hit, and maybe what have you guys missed since you started?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, my goal was to build a team, a competitive team. I didn't want to just have a program that had a couple good individuals. I wanted to have a team that would, that could win a conference championship and be a top 10 program at the NCAA championships, a program that was producing All-Americans on a yearly basis, and eventually, Drexel's first national champion. So those were some of the things that we were looking to do. But I think first and foremost, I wanted to build a team. I was fortunate. I wrestled on a Nevada state championship team. My senior year in high school, I moved to California, and I wrestled on a California state championship team. When I was at Iowa State, we took second. at the NCAAs twice. I coached at Cornell. We took second. So I've been really fortunate in my career to be a part of some really good teams, and that's kind of all I know in a lot of ways. And so, that's what I wanted for my program. And so that's what I set out to do, and when I recruit on a yearly basis, like we're trying to build a team, we're trying to bring in the best individuals that we can, but, we're also trying to have a high quality team from, 125 up to heavyweight. So, I think some of the milestones that we've reached recently was becoming nationally ranked, for the first time in program history. And this last year we took fourth in the EIWA, which is our highest finish in program history. I mean, we're new to the EIWA. We've been in the EIWA now for five years, I believe. We were in the CAA previously to that. So, the EIWA is obviously a lot more competitive than the CAA was when we're, going toe-to-toe against Cornell and Lehigh. So, we have kids that are competing on the national level, and the fact that they're nationally ranked, we got guys placing it at all the top tournaments, Vegas, Scuffle, we've had EIWA champs. I think the thing that's escaped us is having an All-American. We've had 3 guys make the round of 12, a couple guys in the round of 16, and we've just kind of fallen short there at the NCAA championships, and, not because of lack of effort, just falling short, losing some overtime matches. And, that's definitely a hump that we still need to get over. And, and really ultimately our team goal right now is to win the conference, and that's what we're shooting for. We've got our eyes set on Cornell and Lehigh, and I think dual meet wise, we've been able to close the gap quite a bit with those teams. We, tied Lehigh in the dual meet last year, and Cornell, we wrestled pretty tough. I think we went 6-4, and, we're real competitive. So I think we're closing the gap there. When, like, my second year here, Cornell shut us out 40-0. Just a year ago, I think we went to Lehigh and won one match. So, I think we're making those improvements, and, I think it's only a matter of time before we, break through, get an All-American, and, push Cornell and Lehigh at the conference championship. So, we have a lot to be proud of. We definitely have a great team. We've got a great lineup from 125 to heavyweight. We had 5 academic All-Americans this year. I just feel like we're doing it the right way. We sent 5 guys to the NCAA championships, and we're also doing a good job academically, and just all those things are, really things that make me proud as a head coach.
So do you look at it like once you get one through, it's just going to kind of snowball downhill in a positive way?
I do.
The bag on Rutgers forever, right?
Right. I do. I mean, I think you look at a team like Rutgers, you look at a team like Princeton. Chris Ayers has been there for, close to 15 years. And, it took them a while to break through, but when they did, now it's been kind of, it's been building. And I think that history kind of shows that, that sometimes you need that trailblazer. You need that guy to show everybody else that, hey, we can do it, and this is what it looks like. So, so who's that guy going to be, and we've been close. I mean, Kevin DeVoy as a sophomore was lost in overtime. That was like 4 years ago. So, we've been close. We've had our chances, and, we probably just haven't made the most of them. So we've got some kids this year that definitely have the talent and ability to do that. Seniors, Stephen Lolasso and Joey Goodhart at 197 and heavyweight are definitely kids that have been nationally ranked, the last couple years, and have proven that they've beaten All-Americans. I mean, they've proven that they can do it. So it's just a matter of getting there and getting it done.
Coach, the decision to redshirt Goodhart, did you guys look at heavyweight and say, man, it's really senior heavy? Did he have an injury? I know that I think there was 5 or 6 All-Americans were heavyweights this year. I mean, what went into that? Because you guys had a really good team last year, and putting him in there obviously would have been a big upgrade. But I think you ultimately did what's best for the individual. which I don't know. If I'm a recruit, I look at that and I think that's a good thing. So what went into that decision?
Yeah, there were multiple things. It was a tough decision, it was tough, by the way. I mean, we knew how good our team was. I mean, if we wrestled Joey, that's 6 NCAA qualifiers. We are now in probably third place of the conference, maybe, pushing closer to Cornell in second place. We probably win a couple more dual meets, and we probably get ranked in the top 15 in the country. I mean, the duel against Lehigh and Cornell would have been a lot different. I mean, there's a lot of things looking back, a lot of what ifs. But ultimately, we had made the decision, after Joey's junior year. We made the decision then, and we did, and we were going to stick to it. Obviously there were times like, oh, what if we had Joey? But ultimately, we just felt like he needed another year of development. We feel like he is one of the best heavyweights in the country. We feel like he can be, and that he's really close to proving that, and we just wanted to give him another year to develop that. And the weight class was a little bit senior heavy. And when you got some guys like Kuhn and Snyder, and it's like, okay, let those guys move on. It's not a bad thing. But ultimately, it was about Joey's development. Joey was a football player first, wrestler second, and we were able to convert him and get him to choose wrestling over football. He had football scholarship offers, and we convinced him to wrestle. And he's just one of the hardest working kids that I've ever worked with. I mean, he wants to win really bad. I mean, he wants to be successful, and he's willing to do the work that it takes. So I knew that giving him an extra year, he would make the most of it, and he did. I mean, he went out to the training center, to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs 3 different times, wrestled at a bunch of open tournaments, and just really made the most of his redshirt year. We sent him to a couple different places to train with some different heavyweights around the country during the year. So I think he got a lot out of it. Unfortunately, he did in the Edinboro Open in the finals. He was winning 8-2, and he dislocated his elbow in February. So he was out for a couple months, but he's back now, and he's 100%. And he just got back from the training center a couple weeks ago, and we're expecting big things out of him. He's definitely gonna be one of the top heavyweights in the country this year.
So, I'm sorry, Coach. I'm going to piggyback Rob there, and you talked about your lineup this year, and your recruiting class that's coming in this year, very strong class. You guys did a great job getting these guys in. Of these freshmen, these talented freshmen you have coming in, how many do you anticipate have a legitimate chance to start as a true freshman for you?
We'll probably have 3 of them in there. I mean, we'll have 2 for sure. Antonio Menino will start at 125, and it looks like we might see Anthony Walters at 184. And there's a chance you might see Ty Smith at 133. So we have a couple other guys at 133, but we've got to kind of figure out what's going to be best for the lineup. Maybe they could go 141, and we could slot him in at 133. But I think you'll see 2 for sure, and possibly 3. But I'll tell you what, they look really good. This group is really talented. They pick things up really quickly. We've got them on campus right now. They're taking summer school classes and training with our team, training with the regional training center, and they look good. They're excited about being in the lineup, and we'll be young. Our team will be young, so we'll have a couple. I think we're going to have 1 or 2 redshirt freshmen in the lineup as well. So we'll be young, but we'll be talented. We'll just be untested. So we'll have some good veterans to kind of lead the way, which will be nice.
Coach, I guess on the subject of summer school, talk to us a little bit about Drexel's scheduling, because it's really unique. And, frankly, I think it makes a lot of sense the way that Drexel does it and allows kids to, or doesn't allow, it basically forces them to work different internships and different jobs, figure out what they like, what they're good at. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that and what you think the benefits are?
Yeah, so it's we call it co-op. It's cooperative education. And so what our kids do is they get the opportunity to work jobs, real jobs, within their field of study. So if you're an engineering major, you're going to have the opportunity to work 3 different jobs throughout your time at Drexel. So most of our kids take a 5-year program, which allows them to have 3 6-month jobs. So your first and your 5th year at Drexel are just like any other school year. You take classes from, the fall to the spring. But the 3 middle years, what you do is you go to school for 2 terms. We actually are on a quarter system. We have a fall, a winter, a spring, and a summer quarter. So when you're on co-op, our kids will go to school for fall and winter term, which is wrestling season, essentially. And then wrestling season ends, we go on spring break, and the first week of April, the kids start their co-op job, which will be a 6-month job. It runs April to September. So when they graduate, they not only leave with a diploma, they leave with a resume, with a 1.5 years worth of work experience within their field of study. And these are real jobs. They get paid. The average kid makes $17,000 each summer. And they get the opportunity to do that 3 times. Now, Drexel is flexible. You don't have to do co-op. You can choose not to, but it doesn't really make sense to do that. All of our kids do co-op because, it's just, that's what Drexel is all about, and that's what makes Drexel so unique. There's not another Division I wrestling program that has the co-op program. So, that makes us very unique and gives us something that nobody else has. So the bottom line is our kids get jobs because of the experience that they have while they're here. I mean, our kids will go on 30 interviews before they graduate. So during the process of applying for these jobs, it's competitive. They have to, build a resume, they have to apply, they have to interview, and then they're competing against their peers. So highly competitive, and some of these kids just get to do some amazing things. I mean, we've had guys work with, brain and spinal surgeons. We've had guys work at Comcast. We've had guys work on, building building bridges, or sometimes like deconstructing things. But I mean, it's just the opportunities are endless. So it's a truly amazing program, and our kids get jobs when they graduate. Drexel education equals a really good job because our kids are just well prepared for life after college, but they also are a step ahead of every other kid that only, was in a classroom while they were in college.
Great.
Well, and then the other thing is we get to keep them on campus all summer. So we don't make it mandatory, but we definitely strongly urge our kids to get jobs, within and around Philadelphia, which that's where most of the jobs are anyway, so that they can live on campus and train. So our kids are here training year round. Pretty much our whole team, except for the freshmen, are on campus training year round. And there's not a lot of programs that can say that. And so I think that's another thing that is unique and gives our kids, the opportunities to just continue to train, continue to build, get better, and everybody's here doing it together. It's not like there's one or 2 guys. So very unique. Yeah, and I think it's a huge advantage. I think in the past, other coaches would try to use co-op as a disadvantage, and would try to use it against us recruiting wise. But I mean, it's 100% an advantage, and it's a great program. Yeah.
So changing gears a little bit here, Coach. You talked about growing up in Nevada. Moved to California, went to school at Arizona State, went to Iowa State, coached at Cal Poly, coached at Cornell. So you've been around. You've seen a lot of wrestling, and as a coach, recruited a lot of areas. Now that you're in the state of Pennsylvania, and we are a pro-Pennsylvania podcast, what makes, in your opinion, Pennsylvania special? And what makes some of the wrestlers special as opposed to other states? Like what makes what are things that PA wrestlers do better?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I wrestled in the California State tournament. It's one tournament, the largest populated state in the union, and it's a huge tournament. It's very hard to win, obviously, and I would have always, been pro California, but after going to the Pennsylvania State Championship for the first time, it was just eye opening. It was eye opening because of the depth of the field. Just how many good wrestlers are in every bracket. And then the thing that I think that blew me away the most was just that how many kids I saw wrestling at a really high level in every single position. I think sometimes in different areas of the country, you see kids that are, really good on their feet or, really good in this area or that area, where in Pennsylvania, I just felt like these kids are so good in every position. And especially mat wrestling. You see, and by mat wrestling, I mean just even scrambling just on the mat, top, bottom, their savviness, their awareness, strategic abilities, they're just such well-rounded wrestlers. And, after being in the state, I can see why. I mean, there's just so many good club coaches, high school coaches, so many NCAA All-Americans and national champions that are in the state coaching young kids, whether it be at a high school or a club. And then just the tradition, it's like when your dad, your uncles, your brothers, your cousins, your grandpas, everybody has done it. It's something that, other states can't compete with because you don't have that tradition. You don't have that culture. So it's very, very unique. And it's no wonder, Pennsylvania, has the most successful high school wrestlers, when it comes, when they move on to the college ranks. But it's a joy to go to that tournament. That's for sure. Yeah, I walked out of there. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, these kids are really good. I get it now. And the depth is what really stuck out. It's just first round matches are stinking tough. So I'm a pro PA guy now.
I'm a pro PA. That's great to hear. Singling one guy out that Rob and I talked about, Trevor Elfin, your 149 pounder. Is it no surprise to you that something like that was not a highly recruited kid, and that he came into your program and as a true freshman had the success he had?
No, I think there were definitely some surprises. I think one, we knew who Trevor Elfin was, and we knew what his ability was because he would come in and train at the regional training center. So he was in our room, he was in Penn's room, and I had wrestled with him. So we knew what he was about. We knew he was a really hard worker. We knew that he loved wrestling and that he trained year round and competed year round. Did I think he would come in and be a starter for us? I mean, if I'm honest, no, I didn't. But I knew that he would be a guy that would be in there mixing it up and, stirring the pot. But I think he's a guy who kind of fell short when he was in high school, didn't really reach his full potential, like results-wise. I think people who knew him knew he was a very good wrestler, but he didn't quite get the results that he wanted in high school, so probably a little under the radar. But a funny story about Trevor is we were a couple weeks into like official practice, and he comes in the office out of nowhere, freshman, and goes, my mom wants to know if I'm going to be wrestling because she wants to know if she needs to book hotels or not. And I kind of got a little irritated, and I looked at him and I go, well, I don't know, Trevor, are you going to wrestle? And he kind of like looks at me, and I go, well, are you? And he's like, I want to. And I was like, you want to be the guy? I was like, if you want to be the guy, I go, you go in there starting today and you start kicking everybody's butt. You take every single 149 pounder out in that room, and I go, and you'll be the guy. How about that? And he's like, and he just, okay, walks out. And from that day on, it was like he was a different person. And he went in there and he started putting his flag down and saying, this is my spot. And, and he had a great season. We're really excited about him. I mean, he has a ton of potential, and, he proved that he could compete on that level. He earned a national ranking. I think he was in the RPI even. So he's doing a great job, and he's been a great, surprise / not surprise for us.
So when we talk about, we talked about this recruiting class, how does this year's recruiting class stack up with others you've had so far? For as long as I've been following, I feel like you might have this might be the most talent you've garnered in one class.
I mean, this is definitely our best recruiting class ever. It's the highest ranked recruiting class that we've had. I mean, I think we have 5 state champions, 2 national champions, a couple guys who have been runners up at high school national tournaments. Mickey O'Malley's a Pan American champion. And so, when it comes to talent, this is definitely look, the class before was really good too. I mean, when you bring in a guy like Austin DeSanto, it's definitely a good recruiting class. So, and there were other guys in that class who are going to be in the starting lineup this next year, like a guy like Brian McLaughlin, who's going to make some noise at 174. He was redshirted, but we started a lot of our kids last year as true freshmen. Chandler Olson from Shippensburg, he was a 4-time Pennsylvania State placer. So, we brought in some other talented kids, but when it comes to bringing in 5 state champs in 1 year, and 4 of those guys have been in the national finals of high school national championships. It's a pretty good class.
So we're gonna we'll change gears a little bit. We're jumping around tonight. So you've spent now 7 years in Philadelphia, and you were in Cornell before that. How does just in general, just your opinion, how does East Coast life differ from being out West?
Well, the weather, obviously. You're definitely going to hear a West Coast guy talk about the weather.
Especially this year. This summer's been a brutal summer for us out here.
Yeah. When I was at Cal Poly, it was like heaven on earth. The weather is like unbelievable there. You're right on the coast of California. It's so picturesque. But I think one thing that you don't get on the West Coast that you get on the East Coast is the culture. The culture and the seasons, and the culture that revolves around the seasons. There's something to say about that. And I think for me, I've really enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed that change of pace, having the different types of clothing, going out and shoveling the snow, and, just kind of doing some of these things in your everyday life that are just different based on the weather. And so I really like that. I like the how, everything's just a lot older out here, and what comes along with that, the older buildings, the architecture, and, the traditions, and, it's, I remember as a kid, seeing, during Christmas time, you'd see commercials and everything would be with snow and this and that. I couldn't relate to that as a West Coast guy growing up in California and Las Vegas. So it's like now being here and actually living it, it's pretty cool, So, I like East Coast life, really enjoying it. Both of my children have been born on the East Coast now. So, enjoying the East Coast for sure. I like Philadelphia a lot. It's a great city. Great city.
It's good to hear someone from the outside say that Philly gets a bad rap sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, coming in, I was like, Philadelphia? I don't know if I could live in Philadelphia. It's like these people are going to eat me alive, because West Coast guy, you immediately associate Philadelphia with its sports fans, and that, they're crude and they're this and they're that and they're ruthless and blah, blah, blah. And then you get here and you realize it's like the people in Philadelphia are really, really nice. What they are is passionate. And I love that because I'm a very passionate person myself. So I love the passion. I love the fact that I have, sports teams in the city that I live in that I can now cheer for, and a fan base that's just fanatical about it. So, the Phillies winning the Super Bowl, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is just amazing. That's such an amazing life experience that I'll never forget, So Yeah, I had a perception of Philly that was completely wrong. So
the whole throw
awesome
snowballs
city.
at Santa Claus and things like that. Yeah. When you talk about the weather,
I'll admit, I'm
go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at you guys, you Philly guys over here, sitting here in Western Pennsylvania, talking about how great it is. I don't know if I can relate, but I'll let you guys live in your dreamland.
And I was about to say about the weather, and Rob probably tested this. I know growing up and still, like, I often thought, like, maybe, like, move south at some point. But then, like, to not have winter, and I always associate winter with wrestling, and I don't know if I could deal with wrestling in warm weather. I mean, I say that because I've never done it.
Right.
I maybe my perception and my opinion can change, but, like, something about wrestling, about, like, having to endure the cold and gut things out, and maybe some days on a Saturday you don't see daylight because you're in a gym all day. That's it's something about wrestling that's like been ingrained in me and my through my life. And like when people are like, well, I see people. I got a buddy who coaches down in Florida, and they're in shorts and t-shirts and they're outdoors doing stuff in the middle of the season. I'm like, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah, it's really different. I mean, and I think, like, for me, the Philly weather's not so bad. I mean, after going to school in Iowa, I mean, it's hard to compete with those winters. So it's like Philly's very mild, and you really get the four seasons is what I really like. Fall and spring, and it doesn't just go straight from summer to winter, winter to summer. So yeah.
Hey, Coach, we kind of went over a lot so far, but, I always give whoever our guests are a chance to kind of give a pitch for their school. Like, is there anything that maybe we missed or that you want to talk about or spotlight about Drexel, Philly, the program, the school?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately right now what's going on is we've got a great Coach Roger Reyna likes to say the Philadelphia wrestling ecosystem. We've got a great ecosystem down here right now with Penn and Drexel being right across the street from each other, training side by side through the regional training center with Brandon Slay, and then we've got, Beat the Streets incorporated into that network as well. So there's a lot of cool things going down here in Philadelphia, wrestling wise. There's a lot of great people, in this small area. And I think there's going to be a lot of, high level wrestling coming out of here. Well, there already is, but even more, in the near future. But when it comes to Drexel, I mean, our thing is, we work very hard to provide our student athletes a personalized experience. We're a small school, and we're a small athletic department. Our athletic director, we see him on a daily basis. He sees our athletes, he talks to them, he knows them by their name. And there's not a lot of places like that. So it's a very personalized experience here. When it comes to athletics, but then it's also a very personalized experience academically. Again, because of the small university, but because of the opportunities that our kids get with co-op, every kid's experience is different and unique to them. So that's really what we work hard to do is, give our kids a really high level experience, something that's going to change their life and change their trajectory, and make it very personalized. So, I think we're doing a lot of cool stuff down here. We've got a great team, a great coaching staff, and, I'm just excited for what's coming next.
Yeah, about the RTC.
I have. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I said in regards to RTC, I see the benefits that it has just for Southeast PA kids. Coach, I live outside Philadelphia, and I know we send some kids down there from the school I coach at, and I just know how tough that room gets with those high school kids, and to have all that talent in there, and what that regional training center is providing for these kids in Southeast PA and beyond, for that matter, that are making the trip down there on Sundays and whatnot. I just think it's phenomenal what you guys, Drexel and Penn, are providing just for high school wrestling. And I feel like you guys are reaping the benefits now as a result. Like, it's starting to sink in, and kids are realizing that they don't have to go far to achieve their goals to be an All-American or be a national champion. Like, it can be done in Philly. And for me, that's exciting. Being I'm 45 minutes outside the city. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, I think that, and there's so much wrestling, around the city, and there's so much talent, even on the New Jersey side, and
we don't talk about them, Coach.
Yeah. There's so much talent, and they don't have to look far. They can come to a great city like Philadelphia, and reap all the benefits that our city has to offer, and then, be a part of one of these two programs, and then also be a part of the regional training center. They could have opportunities to train after college if they want. But yeah, we've got a great core group of high school kids that come in on a weekly basis. And it's fun because we're getting to know those kids, and look, some of those kids will come to our programs, but some will go other places, but, it's really neat to see that development, like you said. And Penn and Drexel are definitely reaping the benefits, when it comes to recruiting, and that the training center is rubbing off on that, and there's no doubt about it.
Coach, I know I hinted at this when we talked before about the would you rather.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll give you a second to think about this.
Should I be scared?
Always be scared.
Yeah, maybe, but nothing too bad. So, being that you're from Las Vegas, I think it's two things when I think of Las Vegas. It's gambling and it's fight night, right? Whether it be the UFC, boxing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Henry Cejudo was just crowned the UFC champ.
Yeah.
A guy that you have at least one win against. So the would you rather would be, would you rather get in the octagon and fight Henry? UFC rules, not wrestling. Or the other Las Vegas thing I think about is gambling. Would you rather put a week's pay up and play heads-up poker versus Raleigh Stillings? Those two might not be familiar. Josh Stillings' mother is she a pro card player, or is she just like a card shark? She's pretty formidable.
She likes to play.
Yeah. She might be categorized as a professional. That's funny.
So
that's
if you had
good.
to choose one,
I'll tell you, right? I mean, that's an easy answer. I would be getting in the octagon, that's for sure. Raleigh would probably take me for everything I had. So, and I would rather get beat up a little bit than lose all my money. So.
I think Coach Az is giving us the Las Vegas bluff. I think he's probably a much better fighter and a much better card player than he's saying right now. But that's what you do in Vegas, right? You're supposed to bluff. You're not supposed to let anyone know how good you are.
Sure, that sounds good. I'm getting older. Henry's a lot younger than me. He's like 10 years younger. So.
All right, hey, Coach. Rob and I really appreciate taking time out. For everyone listening out there, this was kind of take two on this. We had some technical difficulties with recording last night, and so we had to do it again. And Matt was gracious enough to, grant us some more time for us to get it right. So from that aspect, I can't thank you enough for being patient with us and our difficulties on the technology end. And I told you we were much better. We're much better talking about wrestling than technology. And so again, can't thank enough on behalf of myself and PA Power and Rob. I think probably echoes that same sentiments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on, Coach. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love what you guys do for the sport and specifically for PA wrestling, and Drexel being a Pennsylvania school, it's important. And so thank you guys for, getting this stuff out there to the fans. It's great.
Oh, no problem. Our pleasure. So, folks, there you have it. Is our time here with Coach Matt Azevedo from Drexel University. A lot of information just that he gave out about the university itself, the great things they're doing at the RTC, joining up with Penn, and just moving wrestling forward. And they're doing great things. And I said in the preview about Drexel, I think, that Coach, I really truly believe your program is definitely on an upswing, and your, this recruiting class and last year's recruiting class are ready to start making some moves on the national stage and really opening some eyes of what can be done in Philadelphia. And, I'm just, like I said, I'm real excited for you guys. I'm real happy that things are going your way and that you're doing it the right way. Like you said, you're building and you got good guys and academics and all that stuff's important. So it's just phenomenal to see from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot.
That's all we got. So, and as always, this is Joe Youngblood with
Rob Waltko.
And we hope that you enjoyed the open room. Thanks. Take care and have a good week.
Thanks, guys.